Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, and this week joining us from some might know as the best coast of the United States is Fred Deichler. Hi Fred, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Welcome. I'm happy to be here.
So Fred is always leaning on the Scrum values and Agile principles. Even before he knew about them, Fred has guided numerous teams through their Agile Journeys over his 20-year career in technology leadership. He's driven by a passion for continual improvement and finding a balance between people, processes, and tool. And Fred also knows that his own journey is just as important. And we are very thankful for you to share that journey with us, Fred. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Fred, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I started like you said, I've been in technology for many years, and for a good portion of the time, I was a software development manager. And at one point, I found myself looking for for a new job, and I asked myself, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? So I did lots of networking with my contacts I built throughout the years. And one day a friend, she had just taken a certified Scrum Master class, and she's like, Fred, this is perfect for you. And despite having worked in software for many years, I had actually never heard of Scrum and Agile because we were working in an agency model doing waterfall projects. So I took the course, and she was absolutely right. It touched on everything that I loved about being a development manager. It was the teamwork aspect, the continual improvement, and I was hooked. But it's tough to find your first Scrum job. So I kept networking, and one day at a barbecue joint over lunch, a friend said, "Hey, I have this other friend who is looking for a Scrum Master. They have an opening. Do you want to meet them?" And I said yes, and I'll say the rest is history.
Indeed, and a lot of that history we will be exploring today here on the podcast. And as it usually goes, when we do start our Scrum Master journey, things can go in very surprising ways. Now, today's Monday here on the podcast, so we're going to explore one of those not so nice surprises, but of course, still a very important learning step in your journey. So Fred, share that story, a story of a moment where you as a Scrum Master, you did your best. At that time, you still had a lot to learn and the best just wasn't good enough. So share that story. We'll dive into the details and the learnings later, but share that story with us.
Yeah, so it was actually that first Scrum Master job. I failed at it. I was terrible. There was so much I didn't know. Going into my first day there, the leaders there told me that the previous Scrum Master was very dogmatic. And so I determined I was going to be on the other side. I was going to be as pragmatic as possible. The team, they didn't want Scrum. They just needed someone to help them get some work done. So I was very soft-handed with the team, kind of let them do what they wanted to do. But it wasn't just like they were a team doing one thing. It was 8 individuals working on 8 different pieces of the application. So the opportunity to work together early on in my career, I just couldn't see it. And so the team just kind of continued doing what it was doing. I was struggling with my footing to find out what should I be doing to help improve the team. I leaned probably a little bit over into project management versus Scrum Mastery, and I never really brought the team to be a team or to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand that. Also, a very common thing for us who work with teams that are new to Agile or in a transition, or they've just been brought together and maybe they have some experience in Agile, but they haven't yet gelled. They haven't yet become what we would call a high-performing team. When you look back to that experience, Fred, what are the things you wish you would have noticed in the behavior of the team? We'll talk about the things you think could be done, but first let's look at what are the things you wish you would have noticed at that time?
I wish I would have noticed how the team was working together and how what each of their individual roles were. We all sat in one room, but like I said earlier, it was 8 different pieces of this very complex application that could have absolutely zero downtime. We've all been there. So that was probably the biggest thing I could notice. And then also the relationship between the team and the leadership of the company. It was strained at times, like we see in many places. But I don't think I did a good enough job with defending the team or advocating for their needs.
And when you think about that, so about the dynamics of the team working or not together, their individual roles and their relationship with leadership. When you think back to that, what do you wish you would have known at that time that you now know, but you didn't at the time?
The biggest thing I wish I would have known back then was the concept of I-shaped versus T-shaped developers. I think that would have helped us actually create focus on a sprint by sprint or quarter by quarter basis to actually get success. The Android developer could have been working on the Java backend. I didn't see that at the time. I thought the people they were skilled in this skill set, and this is why they're here, and they need to work on this thing, and they're responsible for this particular implementation. Later on, when I learned about T-shaped developers, which is developers that are, as I've heard you say, is jack of all trades, masters of some.
Yes.
It's actually helped me see the light that you can find ways to help people work together if you open your eyes a little bit more.
Absolutely. So I'll put the link in the show notes for people to go and explore more about the T-shaped developers. But the ability to work together as a team is directly influenced by the belief that the people have in being able to help. Like if I'm an expert in Android development, I of course know Java, but I don't think that I could help you with Java on the backend because that's not what I've been doing. On the other hand, I could probably help with some first simple things like debugging something and then later on even perhaps developing something. But I'm not going to take that initiative because I'm already overstressed as a developer. I have too much stuff on my personal backlog, right? And I don't even have the energy or the openness to look at the team's backlog and see where I could help, right?
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. And it's something, my new thing is whenever I run into these struggling situations, I take it to the team. I ask them, like, what do you think we should do?
If you would go back in time and go back to that moment, what would you have done differently? Besides taking it to the team, of course, because that would be something you just said you would do. But besides that, what else would you do?
I would have gotten, like I said, I would take it to the team, but then I would have gotten better alignment with leadership for like, what are our goals? What are we delivering? And I would have talked actually more with my friends in the Agile community about the struggles I was facing, because I was the sole Scrum Master, which many people out there listening are probably the sole Scrum Master. Now that I know the community is out there, non-judgmentally, I can take these problems that I'm facing to them to the degree I'm comfortable with to elicit some help, some ideas. And it's not just about on emails or on LinkedIn or on Slack conversations. I mean, schedule meetings with people. I know Scrum Masters all around the globe who are more than happy to take time out of their day to talk about the craft we all love.
Absolutely. And that aspect of reaching out to the community can start right here with the podcast, right? We do have a Slack community that people can join and ask questions, get support. And the non-judgmental part is very important. And it's not just important for the community to be non-judgmental, but also for us ourselves to accept things as they are instead of, oh, the team is all wrong, they have to change. No, it's like I saw this somewhere, like if you've got a problem and you think that others need to change for the problem to be solved, it's because you haven't understood the problem yet, right? And when teams work together, there are so many things that could work that starting from a point of judgment, they're doing it wrong, is never going to be very productive.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing this story, Fred.
Thank you.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.